Think you have arrived in paradise? You are wrong. You have arrived in a meat grinder wrapped in silk. I stood on the corner of Pattaya 3rd Road and watched the stray dogs fight over a bone. The heat was heavy. It sat on my chest like a flak jacket filled with lead. My shirt stuck to my back. I lit a cigarette and tasted the exhaust fumes from the endless stream of motorbikes. I told myself I was still in control. That was the first lie. The soldier in me refused to admit the perimeter had been breached weeks ago. I was not a tourist. I was not a retiree. I was a man who survived tours in the desert only to die by 1,000 cuts in the tropics. I adjusted the cheap sunglasses on my nose. I was waiting for her. I was waiting to prove that I was right and everyone else was wrong. I checked my watch. Not the digital one I wore on patrol. A heavy steel diver watch. It was the only thing I had left that was truly mine. She was late. Of course she was late. In this city, time is a suggestion, a whisper. I looked at the reflection in the shop window, a 33-year-old man with eyes that had seen too much sand and blood. I looked tired. I looked like a man who was holding onto a grenade with the pin pulled, just to prove he could keep his hand steady. It started 6 months ago. The illusion always starts with a perfect picture. I was fresh out of the service. The silence of civilian life was deafening. I needed noise. I needed chaos to feel normal, so I came here. I drifted through the bars and the beaches like a ghost. I was looking for a mission. I found porn. She was not like the others. That is what every man says. But my arrogance told me I had the skills to spot the difference. I was trained in reconnaissance. I knew how to read a landscape. I met her in a coffee shop away from the red lights. She was not wearing a skimpy dress. She was wearing a cheap business suit that was slightly too large for her shoulders. She had a stack of papers on the table. Blueprints, invoices, a calculator. She didn't look at me. She was furiously tapping numbers into the machine. She looked stressed. She looked like a commander whose supply line had been cut. I watched her for 20 minutes. I analyzed the target. No glancing at customers, no seductive smiles. She was working. I approached the table. I asked if the seat was taken. She looked up. Her eyes were dark and serious. She told me she was busy. She told me she had a deadline for a construction project. I sat down anyway. I told her I knew about construction. I knew about logistics. I wanted to help. That was my weakness. I needed to be useful. I needed to fix things. We talked for hours. She told me her name was Porn. She told me she was a project manager for a housing development near the darker side of town. She showed me the blueprints. They looked real. I traced the lines of the walls and the foundations. I pointed out a flaw in the drainage. She looked impressed. She touched my arm. A light touch, just enough to ground the electricity. She told me her husband had died and left her with debts and a half-finished site. She was fighting to keep the business alive for her family. She was a warrior. I respected that. I saw myself in her. We were both soldiers fighting a war nobody else could see. I walked her to her motorbike. It was an old Honda Wave with scratched plastic. She put on her helmet and looked at me. She did not ask for money. She did not ask for a drink. She thanked me for the advice on the drainage. Then she drove away. I was hooked, not by her body, but by the puzzle. I wanted to solve her. I wanted to be the one who turned her retreat into a victory. 3 weeks later, I was living in her apartment. It was a small room above a noodle shop. The walls were thin. I could hear the neighbors arguing and the clatter of walks until 3 in the morning. It was not luxury, but it felt real. It felt like a forward operating base. I took over the logistics, or so I thought. I organized her paperwork. I created spreadsheets on my laptop. I felt important. I felt necessary. But there were signs, little red flags that fluttered in the periphery of my vision. The first was the phone. She had 2. One was a cracked smartphone she used to call me. The other was an older model, a burner. She kept it in her purse. She never took it out when I was in the room, but sometimes at night I would hear it vibrate against the laminate floor. When I asked, she told me it was the foreman. She said he was difficult. She said he called at odd hours because he was a drunk. I believed her. Why would I doubt? I was the one managing the spreadsheets. I saw the numbers. The second sign was the gold. We were walking past a gold shop on the main road. The bright red and yellow sign screamed for attention. She stopped. She looked at a necklace in the window. It was heavy, 2 baht weight, the kind of gold that meant status. She touched her cheek. She looked sad. I asked her what was wrong. She told me she used to have a necklace like that. Her mother gave it to her. She told me she had to pawn it to buy cement for the project last month. She said the interest was eating her alive. She said she was afraid she would lose it forever. I felt a surge of protectiveness. I was the provider. I was the strong one. I told her to show me the ticket. She hesitated. She played the part perfectly. She said she did not want to burden me. She said it was her fight. I insisted. My stubbornness kicked in. I told her we were a team. I told her I would not let the pawn shop win. We walked into the shop. The air conditioning was freezing. The smell of metal and disinfectant hung in the air. The man behind the counter looked at me with bored eyes. I slammed the money down on the glass. 30,000 baht. It was nothing to me. It was a drop in the ocean of my pension. But to her, it was salvation. She redeemed the necklace. Yeah. She put it around her neck. She cried. She held me tight in the middle of the shop. I felt like a king. I had rescued the damsel. I had secured the asset. But the biggest trap was her smile. Her teeth were bad. Years of hard water and neglect. She covered her mouth when she laughed. She was ashamed. She told me she could not talk to the investors properly because she was afraid to smile. She said she was losing contracts because she looked poor. I looked at the blueprints on the table. I looked at the spreadsheets I had made. The logic seemed sound. If she looked professional, she would get more work. If she got more work, the business would succeed. It was an investment. I told her I would pay for it. She refused. She said it was too much. She said it would cost 100,000 baht for veneers. I told her I had the money. I told her I wanted her to be confident. I wanted her to be the project manager she was meant to be. We went to the clinic the next day. I sat in the waiting room and read old magazines. I heard the drill whining behind the door. I felt proud. I was building her up. I was constructing a better version of her. When she came out, her smile was blinding. It was perfect, white and straight. She looked like a movie star. She looked like a woman who could command a room. She kissed me. She told me I was her hero. We walked out of the clinic and into the heat. We stopped for food at a street stall. While she was eating sticky rice, I saw a man watching us from across the street. He was young, maybe 20, lean muscle, tattoos on his arms. He was sitting on a motorbike. He was smoking a cigarette and staring at porn. He did not look like a foreman. He did not look like a drunk. He looked like a wolf. I asked Porn who he was. She glanced at him and then looked away quickly. She laughed nervously. She told me he was her younger cousin. She said he was a troublemaker. She said he was always asking her for money. She waved at him to go away. He didn't move. He just stared. He stared at her new smile. He stared at the gold necklace around her neck. He smirked. Then he started his bike and drove off into the traffic. I should have followed him. I should have trusted my gut. But I looked at Porn. She was smiling at me with those expensive teeth. She touched my hand. She told me she had a surprise for me. She told me we were going to the temple to make merit. She said we needed to cleanse our luck for the new construction phase. I paid the bill. I ignored the wolf. I thought I was the alpha. We got on a bot bus and headed towards the dark side of the city. The buildings got smaller. The shadows got longer. I didn't know I was paying for the rope they would use to hang me. I thought I was building a future. I was just digging a hole. The bus rattled and shook. I held on to the metal rail. Porn sat across from me. She was texting on her burner phone. Her fingers moved like lightning. She saw me looking and slipped the phone back into her bag. She smiled. "Whatever you are thinking," she said, "you are wrong." I nodded. I thought she was being playful. I didn't know she was telling me the absolute truth. Logic check. Weakness equal stubbornness, refuses to abort the mission. Trap equaled the pawn shop cycle. He redeems her gold, she repawns it to fund the gigolo. Fatal mistake equals believing the bad luck narrative over the evidence. Planned ending equals trapped in a rooftop water tank, passport locked away. We moved the next day. The lease on the Ocean View condo was up. Porn said we needed to be smart. We needed to save money for our future. She knew a place. It was not on the beach road. It was deep in the arteries of the city. Pattaya 3rd Road is where the neon dies. There are no welcome signs here. Just mechanics fixing motorbikes with hammers and grease. Stray dogs with mange sleeping in the middle of traffic. The air smells of burning rubber and fermenting garbage. The room was above a noodle shop. The walls were stained yellow from decades of cigarette smoke. The fan on the ceiling clicked like a revolver with a loose chamber. I told myself this was tactical. I was a soldier. I could handle rough terrain. I had slept in ditches in Afghanistan that smelled worse than this. This was just a staging area. We were building a life. Porn became the project manager. That was her role. She organized everything. She swept the floor. She put fresh sheets on the bed. She made it feel like a home. But her phone never stopped buzzing. She told me it was the construction suppliers. She was building a house for her mother in Eason. I was proud of her. She was a woman of substance. Not like the bar girls. She had a plan. Then the bad luck started. It always starts with bad luck. We were walking past a gold shop on the corner. She stopped. She looked at the display case. Her eyes filled with tears. I asked her what was wrong. She told me she had pawned her mother's gold necklace, the one she promised never to sell. She needed money for cement for the house foundation. The contractor was threatening to stop work. I felt a surge of protective anger. I hated seeing her weak. I hated seeing her desperate. I asked how much. 20,000 baht. I didn't hesitate. I marched into the shop. I pulled the cash from my pocket. I slammed it on the counter. The shopkeeper looked at me with dead eyes. He knew the script. I did not. He handed over the gold chain. It was heavy, real. Porn wept. She held onto my arm like I was her savior. She promised she would pay me back when the rice harvest came in. I told her to keep it. We were partners. Her problems were my problems. That was the first mistake. I thought I was solving a problem. I was just feeding the machine. 2 days later, she came home with a swollen face. She was holding her jaw. She could barely speak. She said she had a tooth infection. The pain was blinding. She needed a root canal. The public hospital had a waiting list of 3 months. She needed a private clinic. I looked at her swollen cheek. I checked my bank balance. It was getting low. My pension was not due for another week. I asked her where the gold necklace was. She could sell it. She looked at me with horror. She said she could not sell it again. It was bad luck to sell gold twice in 1 week. The spirits would be angry. She suggested a cleansing ritual instead, to fix our luck. Then we would find the money. We went to a temple on the dark side of the highway. It was not one of the tourist temples. There was no gold leaf here, just stray dogs and monks with tattoos on their necks. We knelt before an old monk. The air was thick with incense. It stung my eyes. The monk chanted in Pali. He took a bundle of bamboo sticks and dipped them in a bucket of holy water. He struck me with the wet bamboo, hard. The water was cold. It smelled stagnant. I felt dirty. I felt like I was washing away my common sense. Porn was praying beside me. Her eyes were closed. She looked angelic. I didn't know she was praying for the young man waiting for her at the karaoke bar 3 streets away. After the temple, she took me to the clinic. I paid for the dentist with my credit card. It was maxed out now. I walked her home. She went into the bathroom to wash her face. I sat on the bed. The room was hot. The fan clicked. Click, click, click. I saw her purse on the table. It was open. I saw a slip of paper, pink paper. It was a pawn shop ticket. I picked it up. The date was yesterday. The item listed was a gold necklace. Weight 1 baht. My blood ran cold. She had pawned the necklace again, the one I bought back. She came out of the bathroom. She saw the ticket in my hand. The mask did not slip. She did not cry. She did not beg. She just looked at me. Her eyes were hard. The project manager was gone. The predator was here. She told me I did not understand Thai culture. She told me she needed the money for her brother. He was in jail. He needed bail. I stood up. I was angry now. The stubbornness kicked in. I was not going to be the fool. I demanded to see the money. I demanded she take me to the pawn shop to get it back. She laughed. It was a dry sound, like dry leaves crushing under a boot. She told me to get out. I told her this was my room. I paid the rent. She picked up her phone. She made 1 call. She spoke in rapid Thai. I heard the word police. I heard the word drugs. She looked at me and smiled. She told me I had 10 minutes before her brothers arrived. She told me they were not really her brothers. They were men who solved problems. I realized then that my passport was in the safe. The small digital safe bolted to the floor of the wardrobe. I went to the keypad. I punched in the code. Error. I tried again. Error. She had changed the code. I heard motorcycles outside, loud exhausts, revving engines. They were coming. I looked at her. She was lighting a cigarette. She blew smoke in my face. Run, Farang, she said. I ran. I did not go out the front door. I went out the window. I climbed up the rusted air conditioning unit. I pulled myself onto the roof. The metal sheet of the roof burned my hands. The sun was setting, but the heat was still brutal. I heard boots kicking down the door to our room below. I heard shouting. I heard things breaking. I looked around the roof. There was nowhere to go. The next building was too far to jump. I saw a water tank, a large blue plastic tank sitting on a concrete slab. The lid was loose. I scrambled over to it. I lifted the lid. The smell of algae and rot hit me. The water was black. I slid inside. The water was warm. It came up to my chest. I pulled the lid closed above me. Darkness. I stood there in the silence. I was a decorated veteran. I had survived combat tours. I had led men into battle. Now I was hiding in a water tank in Pattaya. My passport was gone. My money was gone. The woman I loved had sold me for a gold chain and a gigolo. I heard heavy footsteps on the roof. They were walking on the metal sheets. The footsteps stopped right next to the tank. I held my breath. I lowered myself until the black water covered my chin. I waited for the lid to open. I waited for the bullet. I closed my eyes and saw her smile. I was not in paradise. I was in the drain, and the water was rising. Our logic check. Weakness equal stubbornness, or trap equals the pawn shop cycle. Fatal mistake equals refusing to cut losses confronting them on their turf. Planned ending equal he abandons his identity and vanishes into the Pattaya underworld. The lid did not open. The footsteps crunched on the gravel roof. They circled the tank once more. Then they moved away. The heavy metal door of the stairwell slammed shut. The vibration traveled through the water and into my bones. I waited. My training kicked in. Panic is a luxury for civilians. I was not a civilian. I was a soldier in a box of water. I counted the seconds in my head. I waited until my skin was wrinkled and my body was shaking from the cold dampness. I pushed the lid up. The night air hit me. It smelled of exhaust fumes and frying garlic. I climbed out. I was soaked. My clothes clung to me like a second skin. I looked over the edge of the roof. Pattaya 3rd Road was alive below me. It was a river of red taillights and motorbike headlights. It was the artery of the city. It pumped money and misery in equal measure. I checked my pockets. My phone was dead. Waterlogged. My wallet was wet, but the cash was still good. 2,000 baht. That was all I had left. The smart move was to run, to go to the embassy in Bangkok, to beg for a ticket home. But I am not a man who runs. I'm a man who finishes the mission. My stubbornness flared up like a match in the dark. I refused to be the victim. I refused to be another story told by expats in a bar. I knew where she would go. The cycle was simple. I bought her gold back from the pawn shop. She waited a week. She pawned it again. We had played this game 3 times. She said it was for her sick mother. She said it was for the electric bill. The last withdrawal was for her teeth. 30,000 baht for a new smile. She would be at the shop, the one with the red sign near the boxing stadium. That was where she turned my love into cash. I did not go down the stairs. That was a kill zone. I jumped to the adjacent roof. It was a 2-meter gap. I landed hard and rolled. My shoulders screamed. I ignored it. I found a fire escape and descended into the alley. I was a ghost now. I moved through the shadows. I avoided the bright lights of the convenience stores. I avoided the motorbike taxi drivers in their orange vests. They see everything. They talk to everyone. I reached the shop. It was closed for the night. A metal shutter blocked the front. I found a spot across the street, a dark corner behind a noodle stall. I sat on a plastic crate. I bought a bottle of water and washed the taste of the tank out of my mouth. I waited. I sat there all night. The city changed around me. The music from the bars died down. The garbage trucks came. The stray dogs fought over scraps. The sun began to rise. It turned the gray concrete into a hazy gold. At 8 in the morning, the shutter rattled up. The owner was a fat man with a gold chain around his neck. He set up a little table outside and started eating rice soup. I watched. An hour later, a motorbike pulled up. My heart hammered against my ribs. It was her. She looked fresh. She looked innocent. She was wearing a white dress I had bought her. She looked like an angel who had lost her way, but she wasn't alone. A young man was driving. He was lean, handsome. He had tattoos on his arms and a confident swagger. He wasn't her brother. He wasn't her cousin. He was the project. I watched them walk into the shop. I saw her laugh. She threw her head back and laughed at something he said. And then I saw it. She opened her mouth. Her teeth were yellow. They were crooked. The front one was still chipped. The 30,000 baht. It never went to the dentist. It went to him. It went to the bike. It went to the gold chain around his neck. I felt a cold rage settle in my stomach. It was heavier than the water in the tank. I had been a bank. I had been a fool, but I would not be a doormat. I stood up. My legs were stiff. I crossed the street. The traffic parted around me. I didn't look left or right. I just looked at the open door of the shop. I walked in. The air conditioning hit me. It was freezing inside. Porn was at the counter. She was handing a gold necklace to the fat man. My necklace, the one I bought her for our 3-month anniversary. The boy was leaning against the glass case looking at watches. I stepped into the light. She turned. Her smile vanished. Her face went pale. It was the face of a child caught stealing candy. "Sebastian," she whispered. She looked at my wet clothes. She looked at my dirty face. She smelled the tank water on me. I walked up to her. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I kept my voice low. The voice I used when I gave orders to my squad. "Give me the passport," I said. She took a step back. She bumped into the counter. "I don't have it," she said. Her voice trembled. "Don't lie to me, Porn," I said. "I know the game. I know about the brothers. I know about the safe. Give me the passport," and I walk away. The boy pushed off the glass case. He stepped between us. He was shorter than me, but he was younger. He looked at me with bored eyes. He said something in Thai. It sounded like an insult. I looked at him. I saw a target. I calculated the distance. A throat punch, a knee to the ribs. It would be over in 3 seconds. I stepped forward. Then I heard the click. It was a sound I knew well. The safety coming off a handgun. I looked at the counter. The fat owner was holding a revolver. It was old and rusty, but at this range it didn't matter. He pointed it at my chest. He didn't say anything. He just chewed on a toothpick and stared at me. The boy laughed. He reached into Porn's purse. He pulled out a stack of cash. My cash. He slapped my cheek, lightly, disrespectfully. "Go home, old man," he said in broken English. "You finish now." I looked at Porn. I looked at Tata. I wanted to see regret. I wanted to see shame. I saw nothing. She was looking at the cash in the boy's hand. She was calculating how much was left. I was not a person to her. I was a resource. And the resource was dry. My stubbornness died in that moment. It didn't go out with a bang. It went out like a candle in a storm. I realized where I was. I was 5,000 miles from home. I was in a room with 3 people who would kill me and sleep soundly the same night. I looked at the gun. I looked at the girl. I made the only tactical choice left. I turned around. I walked out of the shop. I walked out into the heat. I walked past the noodle stall. I walked past the stray dogs. I didn't look back. I walked until my feet blistered. I walked until the 3rd road turned into the highway. I didn't go to the embassy. I couldn't face them. I couldn't face the judgment in their eyes, the paperwork, the admission that I had been played, that the big, tough soldier had been stripped clean by a girl half his size. I let Sebastian die that day. I threw my wet wallet into a sewer grate. I kept the cash. I drifted. That was 6 months ago. If you go to the dark side of town now, you might see me. I work at a small bar near the border of the city. I sweep the floors. I carry the ice buckets. I sleep on a mattress in the back room. The owner calls me the ghost. I don't talk much. I don't drink. I just work. Sometimes I see new men arrive. They are fresh off the plane. Their skin is pink. Their eyes are bright. They think they have found paradise. They think they have found the exception. I see them walking hand in hand with a girl. I see the girl looking at their watches. I see the girl texting on her phone while the man orders a drink. I want to warn them. I want to grab them by the shoulders and shake them. I want to tell them about the water tank, about the pawn shop, about the teeth that never get fixed. But I don't. They wouldn't listen. I wouldn't have listened. Stubbornness is a disease, and in this city there is no cure. You have to burn the fever out yourself. I light a cigarette. I watch the smoke rise into the humid air. I'm not in paradise. I'm not in hell. I'm nowhere. And for now, that is safe enough.